everyone, so today's video is going to be about a topic that I have kind of always struggled with, and I've always wanted to make a video about it, but I kind of wasn't sure in which direction I wanted to take it. And I recently read an article about, warning, I'm gonna say Kim Kardashian, I read an article where she said that she was always really kind of conscious of her body as a teenager, and she remembered kind of being on diets from about the age of 13, and that was something that really resonated with me, because that's exactly what I was like as well. And I kind of spoke to a few friends who had that issue as well, and we were all kind of saying it's really funny how some people kind of get the body awareness thing and some people just don't. Some people can kind of breathe through life being really confident and happy and not necessarily being aware of their body in that way. And for me it was really interesting because I can always remember being aware of my looks from a child, and I didn't grow up in a house that, you know, really praised looks or that was kind of very focused on that kind of thing at all. I didn't grow up in a house with a mother who was particularly bothered about how she looked. It all came from me, because I don't think I was even really in a society at that age to make me be so into it, but I was really always very interested in that type of thing. And because I was so interested, you then compare and you then feel self-conscious and that kind of thing. And I was also I wasn't a chubby child at all, but I was kind of a chubby teenager, early teenager, and I remember kind of little comments and things like that family members would make, and I suddenly got really kind of aware that like people were talking about my body because there was something wrong with it, because like I was too big and there were other girls that were really skinny and like there was something wrong with me. So I would go on these makeshift diets, and I was young. I mean, like I must have been about 12 or 13, and I would have these makeshift diets that would involve me having no breakfast, then having 2 slices of dried toast, because I figured that toast had less calories in it than bread, which is completely false because it doesn't, and a cucumber and a hard-boiled egg for my lunch, and then like salad for dinner, I suppose. And what you're all probably thinking at this point is kind of why my mum didn't stop me from doing that, because it wasn't very healthy. But I think she just thought I was going to do it for a couple of days and then give in, and I didn't. And then I'd kind of change these silly diets when I got a bit older, and it'd be like I'd eat dry, this is so bizarre, I would eat dry Special K for lunch and an orange, that would be my lunch. And just all these like restrictive, bizarre things that I'd like concocted in my head, don't even know where I got them from. And I used to pore over like diet magazines, Now magazine, which is a magazine that kind of like I don't read now, used to have a diet section on their website, and I used to sit there for ages looking at it and reading it and looking what celebrities were doing and that kind of thing. And I wouldn't say that I ever had like a full-blown eating disorder as such, because I know that it's such a serious issue and it's such a kind of mental issue and that kind of thing, that I wouldn't want to kind of say that that's what I had, because I know that people that really struggle with it probably struggle with it a lot more than I did. But I touched on it a little bit, I think, and I was so obsessed with thinness, like it became everything to me. And I was like I said, I was about 13, 14 at the time, and I just used to kind of Google like celebrity bikini bodies and look at them and compare why my body was different to everyone else's. And what I always felt, and this was kind of what Kim Kardashian said in that interview, was that she had a woman's body before she was really ready for it, and that was how I always felt, because my body was, I've kind of touched on this a little bit before, and I think I called it my body battle or something like that, but I've always been sort of fairly curvy. Now obviously I think I'm kind of curvy. When I'm at my kind of slimmest, I'm not, I'm just, you know, whatever. But I used to be so aware that my body had a softness to it that other girls' bodies didn't. And even when I was like really, really thin and I had a really flat stomach and that kind of thing, my body had a slight softness to it. I wasn't ever muscly and I wasn't really toned. It just kind of had a little bit of a softness to it that and I've spoken about this before, when I was kind of 14, people like Misha Barton and Nicole Richie were kind of at the height of their fame, and they had a completely different body to me. And it made me so distressed, because I can look at someone like Nicole Richie now, not now as in like how she looks now, because she looks amazing, but years ago when she kind of, I think she did have a bit of a eating disorder. I can look at pictures of her now and think like she looks like she really needs help. Back then I used to look at her and think like she looks amazing. And that was when people started to get a little bit worried, and I had to go and speak to someone and things like that. And then I kind of grew out of it a little bit. But as you know, like I make these videos. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. I call this the Great Gatsby mug. I don't know why, but it really reminds me of the Great Gatsby. I just, I do still struggle with it a little bit now, not to that extent, not in the same way. I'd never kind of restrict my food like that again, even though it probably would be quite effective if I did. And I just really kind of got me thinking, why is it that some people are so much more aware of their bodies than others? I mean, I've got friends who were never like that, and it wasn't necessarily because they were like all really skinny or anything. I've got friends who were much larger than I was and were just never bothered about it. It never really kind of affected them. They never really cared, and it was never really a problem in their lives. Whereas to me, it was always a problem, and it was always on my mind. And you might be sat there thinking like, you're shallow, get a life. You need to think about something else. But people need to understand that it's not really like that. It's not about that. You can have a million other things going on, and you can still be kind of thinking about it because you're just aware. And just kind of things like not wanting to touch your stomach when you lie down and things like that. You're just very aware of it, and it's just something that I kind of found really interesting. And I had spoken to people and that kind of thing, and not much help was offered because they didn't view it as a serious problem. And it isn't a serious problem. There are people that have far more serious problems than that. But it is still something that did really affect me, and it affected my happiness. And people can sort of say, well, if you're unhappy, then change it, do something about it. It's very, very, very difficult to explain to someone how it feels when they're not in that situation and they can't understand it. It's really, really tough to explain that to someone. I don't know if you really can. But I just wanted to come on here and talk to you about that today, about feeling body conscious and whether or not you had struggled with it, and what you think triggered it, what you think caused it. And if you think that there's ways of kind of getting completely away from it and not ever feeling like that again. I don't think there are, but maybe. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you next time. And if you've got any requests for topics like this to be discussed in future videos, then let me know in the comments as well.